Hi everyone, welcome to yet another episode of Anxiety Recovery Albright. If you're new here, my name is Madeline Albright and I use my own experience of recovery from severe sensitization, severe anxiety, severe depression to help others who are still struggling. So if you're new here, make sure to hit that subscribe button. Every time I post new videos, every time I go on live, you'll be able to get notified. So let's get it started. So in this particular video, I want to discuss one of the most common symptoms of stress, one of the most common symptoms of anxiety. It's just like heart palpitations, migraines, chest pains, and that symptom is dizziness. Dizziness is what I want to discuss today. In this video, I want to tell you how it happens, how it manifests, and what you can be able to do to overcome dizziness. So when I was struggling with anxiety, I struggled with chronic dizziness. The moment I just woke up, apart from struggling with morning anxiety, the moment I just woke up, I could feel like, I am not steady. My surrounding was spinning. I couldn't walk in a straight line. I just feel like, I'm gonna fall. And dizziness is one of those symptoms that made me not to go up apartments, because anytime I stood on the balcony and just looked down, I just felt like, I'm gonna get dizzy and I'm gonna fall. I felt like my environment was spinning, I'm unsteady. I just felt like I couldn't stand upright. And some people also experience dizziness when they're driving. I'm gonna use part of this video to explain how you can be able to go about dizziness when you're on the car, when you're driving. So stay tuned. Before I even get into depth of why you are experiencing dizziness, I just want to reassure you that dizziness is a very harmless symptom of anxiety. It is one of those symptoms that will go away fast if you put in the work, because it is not associated with something that is, those illnesses, something that is big, because, something like heart palpitations, something like shortness of breath, you feel like you can't take a deep breath. Those are symptoms that when you have, you just feel like, maybe I'm struggling with, something else. Maybe I'm struggling with stroke. Maybe I'm having, brain damage. But with dizziness, it's not one of those symptoms that leads to something big, So it's not associated with fear. So it's one of those symptoms to go away real fast if you put in the work. For me personally, the way dizziness manifested for me, I didn't have frequent, some people experience frequent dizziness, then some people have it 24/7, then some people it's just once in a while. So I didn't have them frequent, but when they came, I had intense dizziness. I had the mother of dizziness because, most of the time when I was struggling with anxiety, I was in uni. So when it was time to go back home, especially in African setting, the kind of farm work that is available at home. So I couldn't do that vigorous work. Anytime I bent down, I'm trying to sun dry the maize. When I stood up, I just felt like I'm gonna fall. I felt faintish. I couldn't stand straight. I had to lean on a wall or go and find a place to sit or just be in bed, because I felt like I'm gonna fall or I'm gonna faint. And one thing about anxiety is that when struggling with anxiety, it is very hard to faint. Someone struggling with anxiety, their blood pressure is always spiking. But for you to faint, you have to have a low blood pressure. For you to faint, your blood pressure has to be low. So therefore, someone struggling with anxiety, you can't faint. It is very hard for you to faint because your blood pressure is always spiking. And I've always said that blood pressure spiking from anxiety does not lead to anything. It does not lead to any permanent condition. It does not lead to, the permanent condition of blood pressure. No, it only spikes. Anxiety only spikes blood pressure. It doesn't cause anything, permanent. So dizziness brought by anxiety, it is a very uncomfortable symptom, though not dangerous. It can't lead to anything else. It's just uncomfortable. And the fact that I'm reassuring you in this video that, dizziness brought by anxiety cannot lead to anything serious, then, it lowers down the fear. Like, it is not one of, it is not like heart palpitation. It's not like shortness of breath that will make you think, okay, maybe it's something else. Maybe it's something else, which 99% of the time, it is always not something serious. With anxiety symptoms, it is just anxiety. You are not having all those big illnesses. You have been to several hospitals. The doctors know their job. If it would have been something serious, they would have known by now. So therefore, you're only struggling with anxiety. And anxiety symptoms don't lead to anything serious. The thoughts can't make you go crazy. Can it make me go crazy? Can I lose my mind? No. Anxiety, anxious thoughts, the racing thoughts, anxiety, being in the state of anxiety, having DPDR, the depersonalization, derealization, the feelings of unreality, they can't make anyone go crazy. They are just feelings, a symptom of stress. Your nerves are sensitized. You're having symptoms from a tired mind. That's why you're having all these anxious symptoms. Otherwise, they don't develop into something else. So for you to understand better, I want to explain to you why people struggling with anxiety experience dizziness, so that it can lessen the fear and makes acceptance way much easier. Someone struggling with anxiety is always overbreathing. People struggling with anxiety always feel like they're going to lose their breath. They feel like they can't take a deep breath. So this makes them overbreathe. And when you overbreathe, you take in enough, like more than enough oxygen to the blood, and this makes you dizzy. The fact that you're taking in more oxygen than that's why I'm always saying someone struggling with anxiety, they can't can't lose their breath because they are taking already the situation that they are in. They're in the fight or flight. They want to fight this perceived threat. That means they are taking in enough oxygen, so you can't run out of breath. The fact that you're taking in enough, more than enough oxygen, that oxygen goes to the blood, and therefore that causes dizziness. That's one of the main reasons why you're experiencing dizziness. Anxiety causes a change in our vision. You feel like the colors are too bright, you don't know where to focus on. Your attention is everywhere, and this one can cause dizziness. The fact that anxiety causes vision changes, it can lead to dizziness. The third one is you constantly worrying, constantly stressing. This makes your body to be flooded with so much stress hormones, the adrenaline and cortisol, and this leads to dizziness. You're overbreathing. That's one of the reasons. Anxiety causes changes in vision. That's the second reason. Then the third reason is you constantly overworrying, you constantly stressing. Your body is flooded with so much stress hormones, and therefore you are experiencing dizziness. So if you're ever bothered that, okay, why am I struggling with this dizziness? Why am I, where this dizziness come from? It is because of those three reasons. And let me tell you something. Your reaction to dizziness is the reason why it's sticking. If you react in fear, if you react in panic, now some of you quit your jobs because of anxiety, and do not quit your job because of anxiety, because the bill's gonna go paid. Are you gonna go home to your kids that I can't, and by the way, family does not understand anything concerning anxiety. So what about your kids? Like, they won't understand, like, why have you quit your job? So do not quit your job because of not only dizziness, because of any anxiety symptom. Quitting work is one of the avoidance techniques. So if you quit your job, you are reinforcing the cycle. Dizziness is a stress response, just like any other symptoms, just like heart palpitations, just like panic attacks, just like brain fog, just like feelings of unreality, just like shaking. It's also a stress response, and your reaction to it is the problem. If you react with panic, if you react with fear, that's now you're quitting your job because of dizziness. If you're working, if you're doing the house chores, if you are walking, now you can't walk, you only prefer to lie in bed. That's a wrong signal you're sending to the brain, and therefore you're going to have more of the stress hormones, and a result of the more stress hormones is more dizziness. So don't stop what you're doing because of dizziness. You are only sending a wrong signal to the brain. With dizziness, you just do your thing with it there. When you do your thing with it there, the brain realizes that this isn't a threat because it can see you continue with your work. It can see you going to work. It can see you drive. People who fear driving because of anxiety, I know, like, sometimes you might have the intrusive thought, what if I cause an accident? What if I die? You can pull over from the road when you feel like it's too much. You are allowed to pull over, but you just continue with your journey. Don't go back home because of dizziness. You can pull over and just, after some seconds, after some minutes, you continue with your journey. That's a way of retraining your brain. Remember, with anxiety, we are all about retraining our minds. We are all about rewiring our minds. So continuing with the task at hand is a way of rewiring your brain. Continuing with the task at hand, it's a way of retraining your mind. And all anxiety symptoms, all anxiety sensations, they are always coming with thoughts. If it's heart palpitations, what if it comes with a heart attack? What if I develop heart attack? If it's headaches, what if it's brain tumor? If it's brain fog, what if it's dementia? So even with dizziness, what if I fall? What if I fall off? What if I fall if I'm in the balcony? They're gonna come. All anxiety symptoms always come with intrusive thoughts. If you understand what is happening, it's just about knowing how to also handle the intrusive part of the thoughts and also the the physical sensations. If you know how to respond, because anxiety sufferers always react instead of responding. If you know how to respond with calm, like, okay, and I understand this is dizziness, I don't have to go to the hospital because of it. This is dizziness caused by anxiety. This is dizziness caused by stress. And if I continue doing my life, if I continue going to work, if I continue going to my classes, it will literally fade away because I'm proving to my brain something. The brain does not learn through facts. It does not learn through logic. It does not learn through affirmations. It only learns through what it sees. So if you're continuing with your work despite having the dizziness, don't try to make it go away. Don't just be in bed. Don't just scroll on social media because you can't walk because of dizziness. Stand, do exposures, just stand and go and walk, because walking is one of the fears for people struggling with dizziness, because they fear they might fall, they might, faint and all that. Do exposures, go and walk, climb up the balcony, like do exercise, do vigorous exercise. Those are ways of exposures. You are just trying to show the brain, with anxiety, sometimes you have to pretend everything is okay. You have to live like, anxiety does not exist. And as a consequence, the anxiety will disappear. The brain does not know if you're pretending or if you're not pretending. It just sees you doing its thing. So sometimes you have to pretend for the brain to get the information. When you stop fearing dizziness, when you stop reacting in panic, when you stop doing something to make it go away, when you stop avoiding work, when you stop avoiding life, then as a consequence, the dizziness will go away. But if you continue avoiding, if you continue suppressing, fighting, trying to make it go away, and reacting in panic, reacting in fear, then just be sure of having more of the dizziness. So the way to overcome dizziness is to allow it to be there and move on with their life regardless. So let go, accept it is there, allow it to be there without trying to make it go away, and move on with your life regardless. So if you have watched this video up to this point, make sure to like, subscribe, comment, and share. If you have anything that you'd like me to talk about, kindly comment down below and I'm gonna talk about it. Otherwise, let's meet on the next video. Bye.